Hello and welcome to another tutorial. This tutorial is about a video animation tool called Moovly, and you can access it at moovly.com. Now there are paid versions and there are free versions. The regular free version is only good for a limited time. I think it's 30 days or 60 days. But they do have an educator option which provides a free version. So if you go to the education plan, you can see that there is a free education version along with an education pro. We're going to be demonstrating the free version here. Notice what it does provide for the free version. Standard quality versus HD in the paid version, but you're going to get HTML5 cloud editor, 1 million plus free video, sounds, and images you can use, access to 170 plus million video, sounds, and images. Now, whenever you see premium, that usually means there's a fee, so you're going to find yourself working with these. Unlimited downloads or exports, understand that they are going to have the Moovly watermark on them, and so you will just work around those. So you can start now and sign in. So you can sign up using Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, or you can just use a regular email. Using your Baker email is going to show that you are an educator, so are entitled to your educator's account. So you put that information in here and you put your Baker email in, accept the terms, and then you register. Once you register, you log in. And you will get to this screen. If you have already created a Moovly, it will be in your dashboard here. You can see you have buttons to edit it, publish it, get into some more details, which allows you to change things like the title, delete it if it's not something you need, and then download your project and share, which you have to upgrade to the paid-for version in order to do any of the sharing privileges. So this is a tool similar to Powtoon, Animoto, or Go Animate, and an instructor can use it or a student can use it once you figure out how to use it. The primary method or browser to use for this they recommend is Chrome or Firefox, although I have worked on a project in Safari. But Chrome and Firefox, the company says, are the best tools. So I'm going to go ahead and create a project. And so you can walk through a little tutorial to set this up by clicking Let's Start or No Thanks. It just reminds you here that if you ever have to get back to any of these tutorial tools, you can go to the Help menu right here. So we're going to say OK. First thing I would do is give this a project title. And so I have the title. I'm just going to type in it and hit enter. Anytime you see this little pencil, that is the edit tool feature. Now let's talk about the stage area there. You have a toolbar up top. It's got a lot of the similar things. You got a little search area here, clipboards, cutting, undo, redo. You have some various things of splitting your stage. There's a text box here. The left side is your library. It's where you're going to have all kinds of access to things that you're going to add to your stage. So you have your libraries, which is your personal library. Anytime you record an audio or you add something to your setup, this is where it's going to go in the personal library. Then there's the Moovly libraries. You have access to all kinds of free stuff in here. Anything from motion graphics, silhouettes, infographics, clips, and so forth. So that's where all of that stuff's coming from. And then there's some external libraries, some images on Shutterstock or Storyblocks, or those are a couple of your choices here. This is the stage, as I said, in the middle. You're going to have this play bar, and you have the rewind and the fast forward feature. This takes you all the way to the end, or actually the beginning. This takes you all the way to the end, and you'll have a timer here. Below is your timeline, and we'll show you how we use that in a minute. And then your properties panel is over here to the right side. Currently we have a video resolution set, 16:9 aspect ratio. There's also 4:3 and 1:1. 16:9 is fine. The project mode, there's a video mode, which is what we're going to be doing, and a presentation mode. Video mode is fine for your purposes. So the other thing you have to do, or can do, is play with the colors in a number of different ways. You can use color pickers and so forth. But if you decide that you don't want to do this white background as your starting point, you can just scroll to a particular generalized color and then see what a background will look like. And maybe that's what you want to go with. So we're good. So once we lock that color in, we can go back and change it at any time. We see, I think maybe I'd like a little lighter. Okay, there we go. So this is now our background for our stage area. As with any of these types of tools, it does make a little sense to kind of storyboard out what you're going to do. Otherwise, it'll kind of take you a while to piece together your project. The timeline, you'll see we have this first stage area here. This is known as clip 1 in our movie. We can add a bunch of things to this clip. We can add text, we can add animations, we could add audio, we can put various types of media on top of this stage, and we can pack it full. And then we can add additional clips when we need them. So let's go ahead and get started here. So I've picked out a topic here for something that I would like to use, maybe create an animation lecture to open up the week in class, where I take some key concept and I come up with a little animation intro about it. So this particular tutorial is going to be about the break-even point. So I'm going to start off by clicking on the text box icon, and I have the ability to make this as large as I would like. I can position it, so let's say I'm going to put it right here. I can also get some help with some of these things by, once I get it in the middle, if I had a lot of text, I can put the text in the middle, to the left, to the right, whatever I want to do. So I have those particular options here. All I do is double click, and type in what I want, and then click outside and it locks it in. Again, I can go back into it, move it wherever I'd like to move it. Let's say I'm going to put it right about here. Okay. Then I click out. And for my particular purposes, this happens to be Chapter 5. And maybe I want to share that as well too. Then I'll go into my library, and I'm going to see if I can find something that looks like it might represent something I want to do. I'm not going to do a clip right now. Let's see if there's a graphic that I'm looking for, or that would work for me. Maybe I can bring in something like this $, and you can see it's quite large. And you can get creative with this kind of thing. Or maybe I do this and bring this in. So notice that I have 4 things that have been added. I have the break-even point text. Now you'll start to realize, if you play with this a little bit, you'll start to realize the colors actually mean something. So the kind of bright yellow color is a text box. And if you got these things right where you need them to be, if you would like to kind of hide them to see what it looks like without them, without removing them, there's the hide and show area. There's the lock area where you don't want to accidentally do something and move this or something like that. You can just lock it. And if you decide you don't like it, there is the trash can to get rid of it. So at this point on the screen, 5 seconds is the timeline, and all of these things are going to be on the timeline for 5 seconds. So if I play this, you'll see that nothing changes because I haven't had anything to change. I can pause it at any particular point. I can play it all the way through, and then I can go back to the beginning. So maybe I want things to kind of come in at different times. So break-even point is fine right there. I click on the second thing and maybe I move it back so it comes in a half a second. And maybe 3/4 of a second, these other things come in. So let's see what this looks like. Right now, the opening stage area, that first clip, is going to list the break-even point, and then you see these other things popping in. Now, maybe you like that, maybe you don't like that, what have you. I'm going to bring them all back to the beginning so they're all there at the start. So maybe that's what I'm looking for. Maybe that's the only thing I want on this slide. I could also add audio. So I can come down here to record audio. Now when you do this, it's going to ask you to accept your microphone, allow the program to use your microphone. Since I've used this tool before, it has already asked me that, and I've already said yes. So all I have to do is click here to start recording and then click back to the spot to stop recording. I can clear it if it's not what I want. I will be able to play it back and listen to it. And then I can give it a name and save it if it turns out to be what I want. Welcome to Chapter 5, all about break-even point. And then I would play it back. Okay, turns out that that's what I want, so I'm going to click in the box and I give it a name. And then this is important to do because if you have a bunch of audio pieces, you're going to want to make sure that you clearly identify those, because every time you create something like this, whether you add an image from your own computer or the internet, or you go ahead and add something like an audio piece like we've just done here, it's going to end up in your personal library. And you're going to have a way to determine which one is which as it relates to where you want to use it in your project. So I'm just going to hit save. And it's going to take a few seconds, and it's going to upload it to my personal library. Okay. So I have, as you can see here, I have a lot of sounds that I've used before, and I can just hover over them to figure out which ones have the sound that I'm looking for. Here's a welcome. I have an image here, but again, if I go back to the libraries where we were at before, we were looking for a graphic. That's where we were before. I'm just going back to the spot into my libraries and into my personal library. I can add images and then sounds as we've just done with our recording. Here's how I would upload those images through this upload media button, and the record audio, you just witnessed me doing that. So if this is all that I need to do on this particular slide, maybe I want to put a transcript of what it was that I viewed or read, that welcome to Chapter 5, all about break-even point. I can do that as well. Put that down here. So you could put text in this area. Maybe I want this a little bit smaller. Let's try 18. Put that down at the bottom and click out of it. Now, one of the places that you can actually save this to is YouTube. And so there are other tutorials out there about how you can add your text for closed captioning to YouTube. So you don't necessarily have to do it here, but if you're thinking about it from an accessibility point of view, somewhere along the way you're going to have a transcript for this. So because I had my playhead right here at the 5-second mark, this welcome to chapter 5 language is actually showing up here. That's not where I want that though, so I'm going to bring that back. To that spot. And now I want to drag my audio. Okay, so that's my audio piece. Now I want that to be involved with this first slide as well, so I need to kind of drag that over. Now one of the things that you might have noticed, that audio piece happens to be 4 seconds long, and you can see because I still have my playhead at 5, it goes to 9, it's 4 seconds long. And that's okay, because in this case this entire slide is going to be up. This clip is going to be up for 5 seconds. But you would need to drag things at the end. If, for example, this was a 6-second sound bite and everything else stopped at 5, it would continue to have the audio piece. So you'd like to kind of make sure that things are, whoops, I want to grab the whole thing and move it over. There we go. And set it up here. And I wouldn't have to have it start right away. And I could actually have this start a tad later. Let's put our playhead all the way over. Okay, so again, I could keep playing with this. I can add more to it. I can just create the basic clip from my storyboard and then come back and add audio and animations and all kinds of different things. I have possibilities of adding some animations down here. You got to be a little careful with that, adding too much animation when it comes to people going to be using this on different devices, and if you have some ADA compliance issues, sometimes a lot of these animation pieces can be a little challenging for people on screen readers and that type of thing. So let's assume that I got everything that I need here. I'm just going to all I did was minimize this. You can see that there's a downward pointing arrow, so I minimize that and kind of give myself some more real estate space here, and then I'll now add my second clip. Now again, I have boxes here, text boxes, where I can change the names of these, or if they make more sense to me, just leave them as clip 1, clip 2. I can move them around. I can grab the clips. If I decide that clip 2 really should be clip 3 and I need to have a clip in between them, I can do that by adding that third clip, and then you're just kind of dragging these to the appropriate spot. So I'm in clip 2 right now. And I'll click out of it because I'm not going to change the name. And so what I need to do is move that playhead slightly past that 5-second mark so that I get my stage again. Now if I wanted my background color to change on this particular slide, again, I could do that. I could go back in, and if I was placing an image, you saw that I had something from my personal library. Again, I can just click this image, get a little preview of what it looks like over here, and then drag it right into spot, grab the handles and size it down, move it wherever I want, set it up so that I could maybe put a text box here and identify it as something. So that's something that I can do. Okay. And I can add other things. I can add some infographics. And again, these things get really large when they come in, and you can just grab them and shrink them down to the appropriate size. And let's go back one more time and let's do something. Let's do this. Let's say I wanted to search for something like inventory, since that's going to be a subject that I'm going to talk about. So I can actually type that in. It seems like I have some Shutterstock images here. So I can go and kind of just hover my mouse, close up of a worker packing merchandise while female auditor taking inventory. So maybe that looks pretty good. I can see what it is over here. You can see that there's a bit of animation, and you can see how long this is going to take. Now, the longer this takes to do the entire animation, you have to think about that for the entire slide duration. You may have to, once you put something in, you may have to add some different things to this slide as far as time goes, this particular clip. But if I decide that I want to do that, I'm just bringing that thing in here. And I do it the same way. I click on it and bring it in. Now, depending on how much time it takes to kind of work through this entire clip, it will take you longer than anything else to actually load, and you'll find yourself not being able to do anything on this particular stage until it loads for you. You can't move ahead, you can't add an extra clip, you can't change your mind and go, let's move this over here. You can't do any of that kind of stuff. So you just have to kind of wait till it loads. If you decide you don't want it, you can then delete it or pull it out, or you can escape right out of here. So you can see the animation clip has come in. You got the drag handles again. I have this right over the top. Again, you got your preview over here. You can decide whether you like this or not. And as I mentioned, you got this ability here with this thing went way past up to the 10-second mark, which everything else is. So you either have to kind of drag this in and not use the entire animation piece, or you have to extend these things out. So anyway, I've just kind of shown you how to do this. I'm going to show you a finished project here in a second. Let's go up and see. Let's assume that we're done. We can save now and save and exit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It does benefit you to come up here every now and then after you've done a couple of clips, or maybe if you've done a lot of work on one clip, go up here to the save now and save it along the way. This does not auto save, so that's an important piece. So I'm going to say save now and exit. And so I'm going to have my story is going to be listed in this particular area, but I want to show you one that I've already done. And so we'll go to play. This one's a 45 second. And so I do have audio on the slides. And it just starts over. So edit project allows me to get in and do some additional work. Publish allows me to publish it to the Moovly gallery, which is something that you can do. In the free version, you don't have a lot of space in here. You could have somewhere between 4 and 6 or 8 of these, depending on how long they are. You can post it up to your Vimeo account if you have it, or post it to YouTube. So that's a particular choice for you. or you can export your project as an MP4, and then that's a file that you can provide to the students in class by loading that particular file. Now again, with the free version, you're limited to the amount of space that you have for your archive. And so at some point with the free version, if you end up storing it in Moovly, you may have Moovly contact you and say, hey, you're out of space, and try to encourage you to upgrade to the paid version, which gives you more space. But you can just go ahead and either delete projects or just download them, and then once you have them out of the system, you have them for good. So this is the other choice here, which allows you to archive, and then once it's archived, you go back to details, from archive. Well, I've already done it. Actually, there's supposed to be a way, I think it's through archive, in which you will get a delete function if you want to pull it out. I think I had already sent this to an archive, which is why it's given me this particular issue here. But anyway, that gives you an idea of how you can go ahead and use this tool. Go back to my projects, and here's the one that we just created in that spot. Yeah, it does say here that you have the ability to preview, change title, or delete. So I just probably wasn't in the right spot. So hopefully this provided you some help on another video animation tool called Moovly.